It's your professionalism that I respect.
Good morning, Chris.
How are you, Stephanie? How are you?
Oh, we haven't done an episode in a little bit. I'm good.
It feels like it's been a hot minute. Yeah, I feel it's great to see you. Yeah. How are you? How are things in Canada?
Good. We got these new pens in Canada that write underwater. They can write other words too, but yeah.
You know, I'm going to get a new dog, but this dog it's kind of cold outside in Denver this week. So, you know what you call a cold puppy? A chilly dog.
All right. Well, what if the worst AI implementer is the expert you just hired? Dan Shipper spent months prompting AI models himself before hiring a single engineer at Every. That founder-led learning curve turned a newsletter business into an AI-powered content platform. Today on How to Founder, we're going to talk to you about AI for founders, specifically why the fastest path to AI adoption isn't hiring an expert, but becoming one yourself, and how teaching yourself the tool first builds teams that actually stick with the technology. I'm your host, Emily Hayes. With me today is my wonderful co-host. What was your name again? Chris Franks. And we have a guest today. John Kaplar spent 18 years in software solutions before founding Focused SketchUp, where he now teaches designers to master AI and 3D tools through intensive courses. John, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have this conversation.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah. Well, reserve your judgment until later on in the episode, but we think it's pretty great.
I have a pen here. I'm not sure if I can do it underwater, but yeah. We'll see.
All right. You left an 18-year software career to teach design tools and AI. Why do you believe founders who skip the learning and hire experts are worse off?
Oh, man. That's a very deep question. There's many parts to that question. So, and just to clarify, I left my full-time corporate job of software about 5 years ago now to actually work in the design field and teach people SketchUp, 3D modeling and rendering. And AI really wasn't on the scene at that point in time. It really just kind of exploded in the last, I'd say, 2 years. And it started off, as you've probably seen, where yes, it can do these very cool things, but you can't trust it. You can't rely on it. And it's come so far in such a short period of time that now we can actually use it in our workflows, use it for client work. And it's a real, asset and tool and time saver. And that's what I've kind of morphed my program into, is not only teaching SketchUp, but also teaching AI on top of that and how to work that in these processes and workflows. And that's, to me, very exciting, because I'm a builder, I'm a designer, I'm a creator, and having these tools where you can create these amazing spaces and visuals in a matter of minutes, that is super cool to me.
So here's the big thing these days with AI is that I think people think AI is chat, right? It's ChatGPT. And most founders, their experience so far has been just like, oh, let me ask chat a question. What we know is that AI is actually like a much broader technology and model than just sitting down and prompting. So what are the guts of AI as a concept that founders need to be aware of? Like, where do they gain the understanding? How do you describe it to a founder?
Yeah, AI is really, it's like a person that works with you that knows pretty much everything. And this is a resource that we didn't have years ago. We had Google back then, and we would Google things and try to learn. But now we have someone we can actually talk to. We can give it specific data. We can feed it all of our business info and say, what do you think about this? And having that smart person next to you 24/7 to answer your questions for essentially free. That is such a huge perk for founders or anyone who is in business or wants to start a business. So you have to utilize AI, and you have to do it now. A lot of people are still scared of it. They're thinking this is going to take their job, or it's a fad, or whatever their belief is around AI. They're just not getting on board with it. And to me, that's a huge mistake. And that's, something I, harp on in my courses is you have to have an AI first mentality. Because when you have a problem, instead of saying, oh, maybe I should call this person or Google this or go here and look at the store for this product, use AI. Think, just go into ChatGPT or Claude, whatever your platform is, and ask it and use it, because it's such a tool to have in your back pocket that a lot of people aren't using, and they should.
I think the use case for founders goes a lot deeper than just, this is someone I can ask questions to, right? Like there are so many layers that are being built now on top of the core functionality and the core kind of knowledge base behind the LLMs. And from a founder's perspective, I think this is where we run into some kind of interesting use cases, because you've got founders, a lot of founders come from a very technical background, or they have these, areas of expertise that they might be tempted to dig in and start coding or start doing something much deeper with it. Is there an advantage for founders to become much more well-versed, or are we seeing things like agentic AI become much more useful for founders than just, ChatGPT or
Oh yeah, I'm glad you
prompting
mentioned
and
that.
yeah.
Totally. So the first wave of AI, that was the ChatGPT. That was where you just talk to AI and it spits out useful info. Now we're getting into the next phase, which is agentic AI, which is where you create these agents that have a specific task, and they can go off, talk to other agents, talk to other platforms, and do things on your behalf. And Claude Code has come out. That has been a game changer for my business, because now I can essentially use Claude Code to create a master brain for my business and for me personally. And I can say, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to create this content for a course, or create this social media post. And not only will it create it, but it'll also post it on my behalf, engage with people on social media, essentially do what an employee would do. So we are really in this golden age of, if you're founding a business, like this is prime time, because you can now not have to worry about hiring employees and having that expense. You can use agentic AI through all these tools, OpenClaw, Claude Code. You can create a virtual workforce to work for you for peanuts, essentially. And they can do all these things that you would normally hire for. So there's this great example recently, it was in the news, Matthew Gallagher, who created Medvi, this brand. And it's a one-person company that does over $1 billion a year.
Right. And he's tapping into services, external services that have been exposed, we just had this conversation about this last night. It's hilarious that you brought it up. I want to just tap into something that you just said, though. And Chris, I want you to weigh in on this too, as a founder and as a CEO. The assertion that we can just replace all of our team with agentic AI, I think is a bit of a long shot, because, it depends on your business, right? Like, yes, you can build a one-person business using agentic AI with a very specific use case, but a lot of founders hear that and they're like, great, I don't need to hire anybody. But I would argue that you still need a team, right? You still need people. They're just doing different work now, and higher value work. Is that true, or is that not true? Chris, like, as somebody running a business right now, would you hear that and go, great, I can get rid of my team?
No, so here's where my brain is right now on how I incorporate AI into my business and how I would consider it to be as a founder for any new business. John, you're right. If I have the skills where I've got marketing skills and I've got some technical skills, et cetera, I think I probably could start an entire business using AI myself. But the vast majority of founders are not experts in multiple fields. What I see AI as right now is a force multiplier, and it's a productivity boost. It doesn't replace humans in my mind yet. I still need somebody to be very thoughtful about what my brand is, what my message is going to be, how I post on social media, etc. But that single person that I can hire can do the work of 3 to 5 people, I think. And so my last company, marketing services company, I think we had 10 people at its height. I think I could probably do that same company with 3 people today. You would still need people to talk to customers and things, but I think it's a force multiplier. But here's the question that I continue to have, and I don't know that I have the answer. I don't know that anybody's really been able to come and say, here's the clear thing, which is, I think AI is an incredible individual tool, meaning that it helps individuals do their job and become more productive. I think AI, particularly as companies move beyond 3 or 4 or 5 people, has not quite evolved yet to become a lateral business tool. Does that make sense? Something where we can use it across every single function. Am I just missing the boat? Have I not seen the latest tool, or is Claude Code the thing that is now doing that? I still see it as an incredible force multiplier for the human, but as a business, you still have to have those coordination efforts, the COO role, so to speak. True or not true?
Again, I think it depends on the type of business, but overall, I agree with you. It's not there yet, but it's very, very close. And I think we're going to start seeing that in the next few months, where people are going to start replacing their C-level people with AI. There's already services out there. I know Hello Frank, that is a fractional CMO or CFO program, which is supposed to be really, really amazing. So I think we're getting there. And with Claude Code, I'm not sure if you guys have used that yet, but you can essentially create whatever you want. There's so many different connectors through these MCP servers. You can connect to all these different tools, and your agents can do things on your behalf. And it's like having a person who has connections at all these different places, and they're making calls and they're doing stuff for you. It's all done for you through AI. So I think we're getting there yet. There still is that human layer that's needed to actually run the AI, because as I'm sure you've seen in Claude Code, there are issues that pop up that you have to address and fix and kind of prompt the AI to do what you want to do. But overall, I think this will be a huge, driving force for small businesses to reduce their employee count. And I think we're going to see more businesses pop up because it's going to be easier to run a business now with AI.
Stephanie, I want to push this back on you, because you and I've had 3 or 4 conversations, and you're deep in writing your own code. I think the big change for people like you and I that grew up in technology is we were business people in technology, and we couldn't basically build applications, right? You told me, was it last weekend, you basically built a SaaS application in a weekend. I mean, it's an incredible leap forward. But the prime question I want to ask you, Stephanie, is, it's still, what to do is still the most important question. And that's what experience, and that's what being a founder and that critical thought is. I think that AI can help do the thing. But like in your case, what to build came from years and years and years of experience of doing this work. Building it, AI helps you do it in a weekend. Is that fair, Stephanie?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting kind of thought exercise, because yes, I grew up in the technology world. I own a software company, and I know intimately just what kind of constraints we've been working with for 25 years in building software. And so it was really interesting to think about the experience of having to work with a development team and trying to communicate requirements that a business owner would have, or sorry, a client would have. And like, you're up against the constraints of what a developer can do, what a developer can envision. And I'm just seeing it with a client right now who spent $40,000 with a development team trying to get a tool built, and it's nowhere close to what she wants. Being able to represent understand the needs of what you're trying to build, and then be able to go through like a Claude Code exercise the right way, right? Building all the requirements first and thinking through the architecture and building out the architecture first. A lot of people don't know to do that, right? But what I have built, and I think this is sort of one of the points, is that I built an intelligence layer into sort of a traditional SaaS application, right? And that intelligence layer takes that tool from, just another piece of software to something really interesting. And the intelligence layer has been exposed and is accessible to a platform admin who can continually update the intelligence in context. So now you're enabling a whole team of people who may be experts in one piece of the business to be able to access the logic and update the logic as we go. So you have this growing, evolving tool. So I think we're moving away from the world of SaaS and into like technology-enabled processes. Now, coming back to the perspective of what a founder needs and wants, I think the primary use case and value for a founder is having a thought partner. Meandering through, like I remember going to Claude a couple weeks ago, no, maybe a month ago, and saying, I just don't even know what to do anymore. I have this business that's not working, and this is one of my businesses. And I'm like, we're fucked, basically. Like, that's what I said to it. And he's like, okay, let's go. And by the end of an hour, I had an incredibly well thought through strategy that was partially the information I gave him, partially, I love how we like give Claude personalities and genders. But anyway, partially the information I gave him, but also partially like market knowledge, but also what he knows about me, right? And so I think the advice for founders is to become well known by your AI tools so that you get better output and it becomes a much more useful tool. And we're advising founders to go and start coding. I think we're doing the wrong thing because we're trying to get founders out of the weeds, right? And we're trying to get them, but sometimes that's who they are, right? That sometimes they're the ones who are founders because they're on the cutting edge. They understand. And so they want to go play and they want to go invent things. So in your experience, John, with founders, what are they most interested in where do they see the opportunities with AI tools?
Well, I think when you're founding a business, one of the hardest things to do is to get attention for your business. That's usually done through social media now, and AI gives a tremendous advantage to creating content and getting that attention. So as a founder, if you have a product or a service, you can use AI, Claude Code, whatever it is, to just pump out content that is going to do well. And Claude is really good at knowing what's going to hit. So using that, using it for your website. Like right now, I'm redoing my website. I'm vibe coding the whole thing, which is weird for me because I spent 18 years building websites. Yeah. And I'm now just talking to someone saying, hey, do this and do that instead of actually doing it, which is wild. But it's also pretty cool because I can also say, hey, there's a problem with this record did this weird thing, go find out what's wrong. And it digs through the code and finds it in a matter of seconds. Whereas if I was at my old job, this would be pawned off to a person. There'd be a ticket involved. I would spend hours researching this, coming back saying, I think it's this, let's test it and figure that out. And then it's a whole, 3-day process where now it's done in a matter of seconds. So the power of AI as a founder is unbelievable. And it's such an advantage. And it's shocking to me that more people aren't going headfirst into AI when they're founding a business because it's the cheat code.
Yeah. And I think this is a little bit more about founders being clear on what the possibilities are and how they can intelligently empower their team and their people to start using agentic AI and understand what agentic AI is, because I think that's the real linchpin inside of a business. Chris, if you understand agentic AI, where does that belong? Like, how do we get a team to adopt and understand? Because I can't get behind this narrative that you can just fire all your employees and you run your whole business on AI. Yeah, of course, depends on the business model, but most of the time that's a no. However, the accepting the status quo is also not a yes, right? So how do we drive adoption of agentic AI inside of an organization so that your people are now not doing the things that they don't need to do, right? And that could be a hard hit for a lot of people, but rather saying, oh, you're just off the team now because you're irrelevant. How do we how do we grow those people into more, value focused people that can now do higher level work?
I think that there's two questions underlying this, and I think the answer to both is about humans. And so in a world where technology can do a lot of the, let's say, the repetitive tasks, or just tasks, really, not even repetitive tasks, but in that world, how we manage our team and how we manage our communication and how we set up the workflows, et cetera, is still critically important. And I think that applies to growing companies, but since so many of our listeners are the very early stage, here's the thing that I had this lightning bolt hit me from the very beginning and half of the episodes that we do on How to Founder, we talk about this single concept, which is the founder's job to go talk to humans that are their users, their customers, etc. Why we don't do that as founders is because we have to build the website. And we have to file our taxes and do admin tasks, and we have to go post on social media. And so we find ourselves in the office way too much. What AI is, John, is a cheat code to get the fuck out of the office and go talk to actual humans that are actually going to tell you whether or not your companies are going to work or not. And so we as founders, we spend so many cycles trying to get our website right, et cetera, before we want to go actually talk to humans. And now, Stephanie, you did it in a weekend, right? You literally, and I've done it, you've done it, John, you've done it. We've spun up an entire brand in a day or two. And that's social media presence, website, collateral, value prop, brand, everything you can do. And so the point there being is it does not replace the founder's job to go actually talk and to sell. You have to go do that job. But it gives you the freedom and flexibility to do all the other stuff so you can go do the thing that you're supposed to be doing anyway, which is getting out of the office and going to talk to potential customers.
That's a great point. And yeah, at the end of the day, people want to deal with people. Because if you're going to buy something, the last thing you want to be doing is talking to a chatbot, right? You want to actually talk to a person, know that you can trust them. And the same goes for social media too. Yes, with technology now, we can spin up AI clones of ourselves and have it talk and do all these things. And it's wild. But I think authenticity is going to be the new gold standard in social media and in business, because people are going to get hip to, oh, that's AI, or I can't trust this because this could be AI. And having some level of authenticity and being able to say, hey, this actually is, John talking, and that he's a real person, and you're showing your family and you're showing personal things. That connection, I think, is what's going to be needed going forward in social media, because we're getting a lot of AI slop right now, and you just can't trust it.
Stephanie, is this a good time to say that we're actually not real? That we're just digital clones of ourselves?
I knew it.
Yeah, exactly. You see how we kind of glitch out?
I listen, if I was going to make an AI clone, I wouldn't make it look like this. Okay. So, but maybe that's part of the authenticity.
I would have really good hair. That would be, fantastic coif going.
I would have all my gray finally grown in. Okay, John, other side of this that founders need to be aware of are risks, right? What do they need to be aware of when they are, quote unquote, adopting? Because everybody's just running headfirst into this. No one's having the conversation around ethics, around representation, around morality, right? What's your best advice to a founder in terms of, how they think about using AI and how they want to ensure that in their organization it's being used appropriately?
Great question. And yeah, this kind of goes back to my previous comment too about, videos and your voice, and that can all be done with AI now. And that's, I think, a trap that many people may fall into, is that they rely on that, and people will find out, and that will instantly break your trust with that person. And that could break a business. So I think there's a fine line between using AI for good, essentially, and helping your business and taking some of those small things off your plate, versus things you should actually do yourself, which is be on camera, show yourself, be present, talk to customers. So there's a very fine line there. And I think a lot of founders may have a hard time finding where that exactly is.
Yeah, and I think educating them to know that these LLMs are learning just based on what they can find out there. They're not actually like intelligent. They're incredibly good at processing information, but these are still not thinking, feeling, emotive, right? So they don't know that they're telling you something that is, information gathered from, billions of records that are mostly represented by middle-aged white men, right? So if not that there's anything wrong with
No,
not
that's
that
why
there's
I
a lot
agree
wrong
with
with
almost
general
everything AI says. I just agree with it. It's perfect.
But like you and I and everyone has had an experience where you've been like, oh wait, what you just told me was actually factually incorrect, or this doesn't feel like it's coming from my own perspective as a middle-aged woman or whatever it is. So being conscious of, and I think having some commitment to, um, ethics and representation, and teaching your models to incorporate that into the work that you're doing, I think is incredibly important. I'll say that every time, because I really hope that everybody who's using it is starting to understand that that's an important perspective as well, especially from if you're speaking to a particular demographic or what have you. So there's definitely a piece in there. Okay, last question, John.
Sure.
Do we disclose to our audience that we are leveraging, utilizing AI? Where's the line there? Like, what do our customers need to know, and what do they not need to know? Where's our responsibility there?
That's a great question, and that's that fine line. And in my niche, a lot of people post, pictures of their designs or the projects that they're working on or their renders. And I think we have a responsibility to say, hey, this is AI. This is not my work. Disclose that. And I think social media is now cracking down on that, because you now have to tag things with the AI label. But again, we don't want to come off as something that we think or we're showing as our own. It's actually not. It's AI. I mean, we just don't want to lie about what we're doing or what we believe in. And AI kind of gives us that way of doing that in a way. For example, my other business I run with my wife called Arched Manor, we have an Instagram account, and we post products, home products, decor, furniture, all of that. And we use our home to showcase these in. And what we're seeing now in that field is that a lot of other people with a similar account are using AI. They're putting that product in an AI engine, creating this amazing house, and they're posting that on social media like it's their own. It's their own house. It's their own product reel. And that's kind of the fine line of, okay, is this acceptable? Are we going to just start doing this from now on? Can anyone now have this amazing house and this lifestyle and this product and showcase that on social media and have a business based around that? I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but it's a fine line that we have to address. And I just want to make sure that with my audience, I'm all about being transparent and trustworthy, because I think that's the long-term play. I don't like being shady or just making a quick win. So I think having as much disclosure as you can that, hey, this is an AI, or yes, I use AI for this, I think that's key in building that trust with your clientele.
Well, I think, and Chris, you have some experience with this, but I think it goes even further than that in terms of data privacy and people being concerned about, like we have to build things knowing that any sort of data that we put into our software applications or whatever, like if we're exposing client data or we're using client data inside of our applications, we have to have a whole other, we can't train LLMs on our customer data and that sort of stuff, right? So being conscious of all of that. Chris, what do you think?
We started before we came on the air, was we talking about how your mom got confused by a very realistic AI news video and saying something completely false, etc. We're in, I think, a very, very weird and dangerous time where this concept of trust and credibility is now going to dominate how we have to position and talk about our businesses. And it starts, Stephanie, with the very foundations of, I'm not going to use your data I'm not going to use your financial data or your personal, or in my business, healthcare data, other than just to help you. And then secondarily, as we talk about what our business is and what we stand for, I think it's this very, very interesting return in the marketing world. It's the return to brand, and it's return to the brand fundamentals, which is we are this company and this is what we believe in, and we are real people that are doing this. Because in a world that you can spin something up, it can be very, very, very convincing, but it's not real. And I don't know that right now we have the tools as humans to truly be able to differentiate that. And I know that the technology is trying to catch up, famously and kind of darkly in the current conflict we are with Iran. There were videos online of things that just weren't real. But every other conflict I've ever seen, there is videos that look exactly like that, of bombs going off and explosions that are real. So this filtering mechanism, I think, is a very, very big problem. But I think from a founder perspective, it goes back to that core idea of being authentic and real and trustworthy. I don't know, John, am I onto something, or am I missing the boat?
You're onto something. And I think going forward, the biggest thing that we can do as founders is create that personal brand, because you can spin up these businesses and these, fake people all day long. But if you're a personal brand and you show yourself on social media, you show behind the scenes, your life, you're not only what's is good in your life, but also what's bad in your life, and people can connect with that. So I think having your social media, which I think is the new website in today's day and age, I think that's going to be the biggest thing that founders can do to create that trust with their clientele.
It's funny, Stephanie, my team would like me to be less visible. They're like, could you just not show up that much?
Just don't come into the office, and actually just don't talk to us, because
that's really, that's basically, we're good.
Maybe you'll be replaced. All right. Are you emotionally ready to go into the speed round?
Man, I don't know. I think so.
Do some breath work, find your root chakra, and we'll go in. Okay.
All right.
Chris, yes?
Do it.
Good? All right, let's do it.
It's so intense.
Okay, John. Here we go. Quick answers. Don't think too hard about it. First instinct. AI cuts your delivery time by 90%. Do you raise prices or lower them?
Lower.
Lower?
Lower, yep.
Kill a profitable manual workflow to test its AI replacement? Carefully.
Small at first, but understand that humans are still important and they're needed.
AI generated client proposals, competitive edge or trust killer?
Competitive edge.
Your competitor fully automated sales with AI. What's your gut reaction?
How good is it?
Would you let AI make your next hiring decision?
Up to the final round, yeah.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, deep dive resources. The Second Machine Age by Eric Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee. And Prediction Machines, The Simple Economics of Artificial Intelligence by AJ Agrawal, Joshua Gans, and Avi Goldfarb. We have to have resources that have fewer authors to read out, I think, and less challenging names. All right, John, great conversation today. Where can our listeners find you?
Well, I've got a webpage. It's focussketchup.ai, but I also am big on Instagram. That's my main platform. And that's at focused.sketchup. And also, I do have a free AI guide. It's called The Render Shift, and it talks about how we can now use AI to replace rendering agents. So I'm happy to give that free to your listeners here. If you just want to hop on Instagram and then DM me the word AI guide, and I'll send that to them.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. And it's not Focused Ketchup, it's Focused SketchUp.
A lot of people, both say it and spell it that way, and it's a big problem, actually. Yeah.
We appreciate
during this show, I just spun up a company called FocusKetchup.com, and I'm just going to see the traffic. So
you guys can have an AI battle.
I love
Get
it.
your
That's
agents.
Oh,
Get your
man.
agents working behind the scenes for
Right.
you to have a marketing off. A marketing off. Marketing off?
Let's do it.
All right. Chris, you want to close us out?
Hey, we appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this show, why not give us a like? Why not give us a thumbs up? Subscribe. Our subscribers have grown a ton. We just really appreciate it. Incredibly humbled to be doing this work. We think that you're awesome. We think that you founders are doing the work that needs to be done in our society. We like to say you're the pioneers of economic prosperity. So we appreciate you. Humbled to be here along the way, and we will see you next time. See you. Thanks, John.
It's almost as if you have no business training at all.